Special Agent, you're a trained Special Agent for ATF. Are you trained in the issue of walking guns?
No, sir.
Is there any, with regard to walking guns, when you are in training, what do you know about, what does ATF tell you about walking guns?
You don't walk guns, sir. I teach at the ATF National Academy. I teach at our first line supervisor school. I teach at our command and control school for GS-15s and above.
Are you aware of anybody who has been disciplined for walking a gun at ATF?
No, sir, but I can. Darren was talking to me last night, and he put it in perspective. If you're an ATF agent and you lose your gun, it's 3 days, no questions asked, up to termination on the circumstance.
So if you lose your gun, but
you lose your gun, it's 3 days.
Gun.
Right.
What do you define as walking a gun?
What exactly happened in this case?
Tell me, in your words, what do you think walking a gun is?
Walking a gun is when you have custody and control of that firearm and you let it get in the hands of a suspect and you don't interdict that suspect. In this case, we had cooperators at the gun stores, so they're acting as agents of the government. So it doesn't matter if those guns came out of an ATF prop vault or...
Okay. Thank you. Agent Newell, is that what you meant when you said that if ATF puts evidence into the hand of the gun or into the hands of a suspect, there's a distinction somehow between a straw purchaser getting it or ATF putting it? Please explain to me what you meant by the distinction of ATF putting it in the hands of a suspect.
The distinction for me, Congressman, is that it's ATF actually putting evidence or some sort of prop firearm in the hands of a suspect.
So that's a distinction from a straw purchaser who goes, and under your observation?
In that aspect, yes, sir, it is.
So you're suggesting here that the distinction is because you did not put the gun in the hands of the purchaser here, that somehow there's a distinction from allowing a gun to walk? Well,
Congressman, I disagree with something Mr. Canino just said regarding the fact that the FFLs were acting as agents of the government. In my recollection in this case, the 2 FFLs in particular were clearly instructed as to follow the letter of the law, to abide by the rules and regulations.
Let's move on, because that's the distinction. The strategy, you were asked a specific question. Who defined the strategy for Fast and Furious?
Well, a case like Fast and Furious goes through several levels of approval, sir.
Who originated the strategy for Fast and Furious?
I believe it was at the street level.
Tell me who the person is who created the strategy for Fast and Furious. You are the special agent in charge of your area. It emanated from your district.
Right.
Who originated the concept for Fast and Furious?
Sir, it's not one person who did that. It was a group of individuals who looked at the set of facts in this case and determined that this was the best strategy to follow to take out the...
What do you mean? Where did it start? Where does the stream start?
Tell
me who participated in that conclusion.
Well, it's several individuals. It was the group supervisor, the assistant special agent in charge, myself, and individuals in headquarters.
Okay, so there was a number of people who were very learned in this process. Now, you testified here today earlier, no part in the strategy to allow guns to be taken to Mexico. It was no part in the strategy to allow guns to be taken to Mexico. Is that right?
To knowingly allow guns to go to Mexico, yes.
To knowingly allow guns to go to Mexico.
In this case, we did everything. We had seizures in this case when we had evidence.
I asked you a specific question. I said that there was no part in the strategy to allow guns to go to Mexico. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Would Mr. McMahon have participated in any way in the development of this policy or the Fast and Furious strategy?
I know he was aware of it, yes, sir.
He was aware of it. Mr. McMahon, you testified, a plaza boss. He has $70,000. He wants $70,000 worth of guns. What's a plaza boss?
It's someone in a hand controls an area for a cartel.
And where is that plaza boss?
In Mexico.
So you testified that part of the theory here, your words, is the plaza boss expects $70,000 worth of weapons.
Correct.
Mr. Newell, the strategy Mr. McMahon identifies that you expect, you understand that he expects $70,000 worth of weapons. Where does that get in that there was no part in the strategy to allow guns to be taken to Mexico?
Yes, sir. We still, during the beginning parts of this case, we did not know who the Plaza boss was. We didn't know.
That's not my question about who the Plaza boss was. The question is there a Plaza boss? Agent McMahon just said he's in Mexico.
Right.
And the Plaza boss expects $70,000 worth of guns. Now, you're saying no part of the strategy was allow the guns going to Mexico. Who's right here?
Sir, the strategy wasn't to allow guns to go to Mexico.
But what did Agent McMahon just say? This was an OSADEF case.
Yes,
Who
sir.
else participated in this in the form of this going up?
I'd ask unanimous consent the gentleman be allowed to have another 30 seconds. Thank you.
Sure.
Was this an OSADEF case?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay, that implies that at a certain point in time it moves beyond your agency, does it not?
Yes, sir.
What does that mean with regard to OSADEF? What kind of other participants were there as part of OSADEF?
Well, there's other agencies that were involved in this.
Other agencies.
Yes.
What other agencies were involved in this?
In this investigation, they were full partners in this case was Immigration and Customs Enforcement, now known as Homeland Security Investigations. We had Internal Revenue Service, and we had assistance to some level from DEA.
So are you saying DEA, IRS, and ICE all knew about this program to participate in the OSADEF?
They participated in the investigation, yes, sir.
In the investigation. Were they aware that guns were being walked to Mexico?
Sir, again, I'm assuming that they were, I mean, I know they were aware of the strategy, but it's.
They were aware of the strategy,
Yes, sir.
which included what Special Agent McMahon talked about, allowing $70,000 worth of guns to go to the Plaza boss.
Sir, I've never said that we are allowing $70,000 worth of guns to go.
You said it was the expectation.
I was giving a scenario of how it works. There's a Plaza boss in Mexico that's requiring $70,000 worth of guns. So if he's not getting it from the network we're investigating, he's getting it from somewhere else. It wasn't the $70,000 example I gave you wasn't specific to this investigation. It was an overall generalization of how trafficking to Mexico works.
But we're talking about Plaza bosses. We're talking about Plaza bosses in Mexico.
The gentleman's time has expired. We were going to have a second round in just a moment. The gentlelady.